What's up, guys? Welcome back. And today is a little bit different because I've been seeing some videos with some guys that are maybe 30s, 40s, 50s that where they seem to be a little bit down and depressed about their jobs and just how hard everything's gotten in recent years. And they're feeling a little bit bummed out, and I'm feeling it a little bit too. And I think that's what we're going to talk about a little bit in this episode. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. So, as I said, I've been seeing some videos with some guys that they're pretty bummed out, pretty depressed when they go to work. Just how hard it is to keep up with your bills these days. You're working harder and harder and harder, and you're getting less and less for it. I'm 44 currently. All my plans haven't panned out. I've tried a lot of different things, starting different businesses, and I'm feeling pretty stuck too. Um, I've had the same job for the last 16 years. It's not a very exciting job. Um, I drive a local route with a truck. Um, I'm feeling pretty tired, and I'm physically dealing with pains that I've never had before, and they're the kind that they don't seem to go away. I guess when you get to a certain age, they just kind of linger around for a while. And I haven't gotten as far as I would have liked to have gotten by this point. And I think it starts to hit people. I don't know if that's a midlife thing for the most part, but it just seems to me like there's a lot of people that are dealing with this depression, this stress. I've let so many of my dreams be killed over the years, and either from listening to others, say it was a bad idea, or just not believing in myself. And I would like to share a couple of things that I think about when I'm feeling a little bit down and depressed about this stuff. Of course, the macro conditions are not very favorable for anyone right now. And economies everywhere are kind of running on fumes. And those of us who have fought for years, decades in the middle class are carrying a very heavy weight right now. But what I'd like to say is that just imagine for a moment that what humans dealt with 10,000 years ago, or even before or after. Many of them never made it into their 30s, 40s, or anything beyond. They had to get up and hunt, and maybe you would get lucky, and you might find food like within an hour occasionally, and that's great. Your work's done for the day, right? But then there would be other times where you may starve for days or weeks. No medical care, no ibuprofen, not a lot of the things that make our lives easier these days. Even today, you're fortunate if you have a clean, hot shower and indoor plumbing, heat, and AC, the ability to refrigerate your food, ease of cooking. If you decide to cook, you can find other people to make a meal for you fairly inexpensively these days. I'm not saying it's the best food, but hey, people didn't have that for thousands of years. And we live in a good time. There were kings and queens that didn't have indoor plumbing or good heat and AC or the medical care that we have, the hot shower, and the ability to travel. Most of us can have a fairly inexpensive car at the very least. Granted, it's almost necessary with the infrastructure being built for that now, but still, I think there's something to be said about all of the modern luxuries that we tend to overlook. And we don't need to lose sight of that. There are always people that are a little less fortunate. Um, and as hard as it is, we've got to deal with it and just keep going on a day-to-day basis. I think society has made us believe that there's always another rung to the ladder. Like you're in this situation at this economic class, whether you're lower middle class or upper middle class, and you've got to have more. But I've heard people who are millionaires, 100 millionaires, saying that that's not enough. Like they're always trying to make more, and it's like you can witness and see billionaires that are still trying to earn more money. So maybe there's no end to that game. Maybe there's never really enough. It's for thousands of years we didn't have that. It was like during the Roman times, for example, like people just lived on their farms for most of their lives, and just they tended to their own home and just got food, and that was life, just surviving. That is life. I think one of the problems that we face right now also is the constant dopamine from everywhere. And another issue that I'm personally having right now is there's subscriptions for everything. And they will nickel and dime you now like crazy. Every company's wanting a little bit of money, and it adds up after a while. But back to the dopamine thing. We know there's been studies done that all of these companies, especially the social media companies, have got this algorithm down pat to reward you with the dopamine. And I'm not going to make a lecture about it, but I mean, it's just knowing that exists hasn't slowed them down any. And so it's up to us to be responsible to manage our dopamine. And I have to deal with this myself also as a truck driver. I'll listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and that is something that produces dopamine. Now you can look online and you can jump on YouTube and you can find people who are talking about dopamine detox and things like that. If you want to take it to that extreme, there was a period not too long ago where I went about 6 years where I didn't have cable or internet or anything. Just kind of went to work. But that was a whole different story, and I can talk about that later. But knowing that dopamine could be a problem, like now it's one of those things where I know, like, not only can you dopamine detox to kind of reset, but even if you're going through like just a one day, and like for me, I'm listening to podcasts, and you reach like a certain point where you've kind of maxed out your dopamine, and it starts having a diminishing effect, and you start feeling down and into that slump. And so the best I can find from looking into it, like, you got to get out and stretch and walk around some to kind of just do a little, like a micro reset without going on a full on dopamine detox. Like, just kind of get away from it for a little bit and breathe and, try to, feel good about the accomplishments that you have had. Take the time to reward yourself and remind yourself of the good things that you have accomplished. I don't think life is really easy for anyone, but it's not like there was an end point in mind where you get to be a millionaire, and all of a sudden, like, okay, game over. Everything's taken care of now. Like, that was always the case. It's just when we were younger, we weren't thinking about it in the same way, and it keeps going. So I wouldn't be bummed out about it, because I mean, the thing about it is, you see people who have achieved millions, and some who have achieved billions by whatever means necessary, and lost it all. So, um, you know, at the end of the day, you have yourself. Maybe you have some family, some kids. Um, at the end of the day, you got to find a couple people to talk to and maybe resonate with, and don't be worried too much about feeling like you're behind, because if you're alive and you're surviving, dude, you're winning. Like, that's the only thing that was ever required. It's only within the last couple of centuries that it became a status game. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that, and I hope the best for all of you. Later on.